Hello and welcome to episode 270 of the Random Title Podcast. I'm Jason.
I'm Angel.
I am Kevin.
And we are calling this episode And the Winner Is, which I frankly am shocked we have never used in all our years of covering the Game Awards and sharing our own Game of the Year winners. And yet, here we are doing those things in this episode with that title.
As we do.
Future us will have to get a little more creative, but that's a problem for them, not us. We're going to do And the Winner Is. But I do like to think that the title works on a second level too, because of the games we're going to be talking about as well that you guys have been playing. I know, Kevin, you have Shin Megami Tensei 5. Angel, you're revisiting Pokemon Unite. Both of those have battles with winners, right? Yeah, so there's winners there. This works.
I never really left. I don't know if I call it revisiting, but yeah, I'm playing it.
Well, revisiting on the show. Checking back in. How about that? Checking back in.
Yeah, that works.
So those are the highlights, all of which are timestamped over at the blog post for this episode at ramtown.com. Full disclosure, we don't have any coverage of the Indie World presentation in this episode because we're recording this a little earlier than usual and it hasn't actually happened yet for us. So we'll maybe cover it in a future episode if there's any highlights. But yeah, Indie World, you're on your own, listener. You're going to have to form your own opinions on that one. But sprinkled throughout instead, I'm going to be dropping some little Jason sales nuggets. We call them sales snacks, maybe. Like, I could do a normal Jason sales corner, but it's the holidays, and, nothing says the holidays like having little treats that some people find delicious and other people find absolutely disgusting, and this is that. Everyone's got that holiday thing that some people don't like. Like, I don't like eggnog. I don't understand how people like eggnog. I don't know if you guys
like
have
eggnog?
anything. I don't know. It's the concept's weird.
Eggnog is one of those things that knows its place in the world, because it's like...
Have you tried it?
Way back when, and I the texture just did not sit well with me. Maybe I should try it again now that I'm an adult, but...
Yeah, it's one of those things that knows its time. It comes in towards the end of the year and takes off before we're like absolutely sick of it,
Yeah, I get what you mean. Like, it's very, it's fleeting, and as a result, it's it's bearable. So
exactly.
It seems like. Yeah, I mean, Angel, do you have a holiday treat that like most people, they may force it on you, and you find it absolutely disgusting? I know some people are very finicky about like gingerbread.
Thing is ever forced on me for a snack, but I think I'm indifferent towards eggnog, as well as the gingerbread stuff. Not the biggest fan of gingerbread cookies. I think they're too crunchy for my taste. A little too cinnamony. At least I haven't had one that I've loved. Although, if you take the concept of what they taste like and just make it a little chewier, maybe add a hint of chocolate in there, and maybe whatever, I guess brown sugar. I don't know. We might have something there.
It sounds like you have an entire different cookie at that point, but it does sound good.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't want to eat a gingerbread at that point. Because gingerbread, it has... I mean, it's used more for architecture than I feel for eating. I feel it's described more as.
I mean, people don't just bake houses out of gingerbread, right? Like, there's round gingerbread cookies that are just served on plates that people just eat.
Wow.
It's not like plywood where it only has one purpose to build a house or something, but yes. But I guess, point is, the sales data, depending on who you may ask, is that holiday treat or disgusting thing you don't like or something you need to add salmon to. And just like in the holidays, you never know when I'm going to drop a sales snack this episode. They're just going to kind of come and go. So let's just jump right in, see what happens. First up, we've got what we've been playing, and for this episode, it's literally all you two, I think. The biggie of which is probably specifically you, Kevin, with the long-awaited Switch-exclusive Shin Megami Tensei 5, which is finally available.
Finally available. Yeah, Shin Megami Tensei 5. I've been playing for a bit. Not too much. That's on me because I haven't paid too much attention to my Switch gaming recently. But from what I've played, I'm having a good time. I played a ton of Shin Megami Tensei 4 on the 3DS. I really, really like that game. But this one just hasn't grabbed me as much as that one did, to my surprise. I'll get to why in a second. But in SMT5, you play as a high schooler who winds up in this, this post-apocalyptic version of the real world, of like real world Tokyo, called DAT. DA''AT, so DAT. I never get tired of saying DAT. It's a fun word. In DAT, there are, it rolls off the tongue, right? It's like,
DAT.
Yeah, it's really nice. So in there are these demons that you fight with the help of a god called man, I'm gonna butcher this. Aogami, I believe is its name, and you fuse with it, and then you become this. I guess this creature, this being. I don't know if you necessarily become a demon, but then you become this sort of god called Nahobino, which looks like the main character, but in like this sort of, I don't know if I would call it a RoboCop suit, but I don't know. If you want to see what the main character looks like, just go ahead and Google it. You'll find it pretty easily. Utilizing Aogami's power, you'll travel around Dat in order to return to like your world and your friends that you got separated like right at the beginning of the game. So far, I'm not necessarily feeling the setting. I preferred SMT4's initial setting and its setup for that matter much better. In that game, you sort of started out in this feudal Japan era setting where you were a samurai tasked with hunting demons. But I will say about 15 to 20 hours into that game, it had a pretty wild twist that kept me going. I'm sure this game will have something along the lines of that. I just haven't gotten to there yet. Mainly because this game is actually pretty tough. As I've stated multiple times before, these Shin Megami Tensei games are just Pokemon for nihilists. And this one
I love that description.
Absolutely continues the trend. It has the same turn-based battle system as the previous games and as the Persona series. But specifically, this one has the system called the press turn system, where exploiting an enemy weakness will grant you another turn that you could use as the character who exploited that weakness, or you could pass it off to another character or one of your teammates. And those teammates are composed of the demons that you're actually fighting. If anyone's familiar with the Persona games, or I guess specifically Persona 5, in that game you were able to talk to the demons to add them to your list of Persona that you use in battle. And actually Persona 5 actually ripped that off from the Shin Megami Tensei games, because in the Persona games you acquired these demons / personas through other means, while in the Shin Megami Tensei games you had to talk to the demons that you were fighting, and sometimes they'll just ask weird things of you. They'll ask you these vague questions that you just have to, that you will then get a list of answers, and you're like, you got to pick one of those answers, and you have no idea if it's the right answer or not. And you just got to hope that you don't piss off the demon, because if you do, you lose your chance of recruiting that demon, and then they will fight you even harder than before. And then some of them will ask for like money, some of them will ask for a little bit of your life force, and what's worse is that sometimes like they will trick you into giving like money, and then they'll just bounce. And it's like, okay, well you just lost a bunch of money because you thought that was going to get that demon to join your team. But in Persona 5... oh, yeah, go for it.
I was just going to say, since you're doing the Persona Shin Megami comparison...
I try not to. I try not to, because I know the Shin Megami Tensei fans really nowadays dislike the comparison to the Persona games.
Well, then they're going to hate what I'm about to ask. As I say, for those at home who may not know the difference between the two, by which I mean me, what is, in a nutshell, the difference, besides the battle system? It sounds like that's different. But
so the battle systems are actually very, very similar. The difference is the Persona games are sort of set in like contemporary times, and you play as a high schooler that actually goes to school, and you have to study for tests or like your exams. You have to work on your relationship skills. You'll go to the movies, and that'll up your courage. Like you'll see a movie, an action movie, and that'll up your courage. Or you'll see a romance movie, and that'll make you like a better smooth talker when talking to people. These games, these Shin Megami Tensei games, have nothing, like, do not deal with that at all. These are way more hardcore than the Persona games. And I know some Persona fans might be mad at me for saying that. It's the truth. I've played both of these series enough to know the difference. I like them both. You know what? I was about to say I like them both equally. I very much prefer the Persona games. as opposed to these. But yeah, these are definitely way more hardcore.
Gotcha.
One of the differences actually between the Persona games and these, in Persona, your fellow classmates will like join you in your adventures, right? So they will be your teammates out in the battlefield. Here, it's more of like, think the double battles in Pokemon, where you will have two Pokemon out at the same time. Here, you will have 3 Pokemon up at the same time, or 3 demons, and you also have yourself, right? And in where is it? Oh, and then like one big change that this one has over the 3DS Shin Megami Tensei 4 is that in those battles on the top screen you essentially had what were your enemies, like your enemy demons, and then the background will match whatever like area you're in. So if like you're in the park, you had this nice little park background, or if you're in the city, you would have like buildings in the background. But when it came to your side of the battle, you were like essentially delegated to the bottom screen, and it would just be like a picture of the persona or yourself, and like with this silver background. Here, everything is rendered out in 3D, which is like a nice change of pace. So you're rendered in 3D, and the demons are also rendered, and the demons are the same ones that you will see across Atlus's other RPGs. So you'll have like Pixie, which is one of the earliest demons / personas that you'll get in these games, or you'll have like the Bicorn, the unicorn character. And similar to Persona and the other games, you can fuse them to create stronger demons, and then you'll gain their powers and yada yada yada. It's more or less the same so far than what I've had. And then, of course, those demons that you have on your team will also have weaknesses themselves that the enemies can exploit. And when they exploit them, they can easily turn the tides in battle, because then they'll just stack up a crazy amount of turns that they can execute before you even have a chance to retaliate. And that has pretty much given me way more game over screens than I would like. I'm playing this on the hardest difficulty because I've played many Atlus RPGs, and I think I'm pretty good at them. But, man, I'm thinking even this one might be a little rougher than previous titles. I've been mainly playing in handheld mode, and the game runs fine. It's unfortunately locked at 30 frames, which is a shame. And there's some slowdown here and there, but nothing too egregious, thank God. It definitely feels bigger than Shin Megami Tensei 4, while those areas that you would travel were definitely much smaller in scale. And the first area in Shin Megami Tensei 5 is like this like desert that has like destroyed buildings, and then like giant cities that are just covered in sand. I am worried that I won't hit the same hour mark that I did with Shin Megami Tensei 4. But like I said, that's mainly due to the setup and the structure of this game. And like I said before, I'm sure that there's going to be a twist. But then I'm also worried that maybe that twist just won't grab me the same way that Shin Megami Tensei 4's twisted. But I'm looking forward to at least getting there. And hopefully the twist surprises me enough. And then hopefully I'm looking forward to playing even some more hours into this game.
It is hard to make lightning strike twice with a good twist. But hopefully they found a way. Yeah,
hopefully. And these games are definitely much harder to get into than the Persona games for sure. Because, in a Persona, you're playing a high schooler that has to deal with everything that a high schooler has to, aside from fighting, like, these little demons or whatever. While these games always tend to be more about... These games always end up being a fight between like angels and devils. These have way more religious iconography than the Persona games will even ever get to. Like I said, this is more for nihilists for sure.
It sounds like it's kind of like Persona's almost like the digestible version of this, the more like mainstreamified, which would explain why it's a bigger franchise in sales at this point, I would imagine.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know. And like I said, the Shin Megami Tensei games are definitely more hardcore. And that's not necessarily a better thing or a worse thing. They're definitely two different audiences. I just happen to be able to fit into both those audiences, thank God. Just gives me more Japanese RPGs to play.
Well, here, unless there's anything else, I got our first sales snack, if you want.
Oh, no.
Give it to me. I want to munch on something.
It's Shin Megami Tensei 5 had the best launch month sales of any entry in the series in the United States. That's the snack. To be clear, this is just within the Shin Megami Tensei franchise and not including Persona. But nonetheless, 16th place in the NPD Group's overall top 20 for November. Highest it's gone. And is the 6th bestseller on the Switch-only chart. One of only 2 third-party games to get on the chart, the other being Just Dance 2022, 2 spots ahead of it. But yeah, it launched pretty strong. Thing. Yeah, it's all based on physical sales too, so it could be even better once you count digital and eShop and all that. But still, it's a mini version of the Switch bump, if you will, or maybe a major version. I don't know how it compares to the other games. I just know it did better. So there you go. There's your snack. Snack number 1. More to
Num.
But yeah, you did mention. Unless there's anything else you want to say about Shin Megami.
No, I've said my piece. I will continue playing. I will try and update once I get further along.
Sounds good. I'm curious if the twist lives up to your hopes and dreams and expectations. But I was going to say, you mentioned Pokemon.
Expectations.
And yes, Angel. It's the way you echoed that back sounds like some sort of, speaking of religious energy, some sort of weird congregational chant. But yes, you mentioned Pokemon, Kevin. Angel, you're playing, well, apparently you never stopped playing, but Pokemon Unite. How's that been in the last few months? I haven't played it since the summer.
Pokemon Unite.
Yes.
It's been interesting. I mean, I am obviously still enjoying it, but I'm sure it's not even really a problem with the game in general. I don't think it's a problem. Yeah, that's not a problem. It is more of a realization that, these kinds of games are not fun without a group of people Oh,
I thought your sentence was just ending at not fun. Sorry.
No,
these games just suck.
No, because I have a ton of fun when I'm playing this game, but it's only when I'm playing with my brother or my other friend that are really into it. Otherwise, you kind of it definitely loses a lot when you're playing with just strangers, for better or worse. And unfortunately, as times progress, it's just getting harder and harder to coordinate times to, play with the whole gang. That, it's kind of unfortunate that while I'm also playing it, I'm not playing it as much as I would like to. Like the fact that, and maybe for better or worse, it's making the influx of just things have been getting feel a lot faster. It honestly feels like it was just, recently that we got Decidueye. And then out of nowhere, it's oh, here's Serena. Oh, Dragonite's coming. Oh, and then right before Decidueye, we had I forgot his name. Big Boy Squirrel. And
Big Boy Squirrel.
And while I didn't really get to see him in action, I got to mess around with him a little in the training mode just to play as the characters. But yeah, apparently he's broken. But apparently, every character is broken in this game. It's just about your team composition. But
well, if every character is broken, then no character is broken, right? Theoretically, if they're all equally broken, are they even broken?
Yeah, it just all that really means is just how often you're going to see certain characters, which can get kind of annoying when you want to see variety. But it, every game at one point had a Wigglytuff, or every game at one point had Zorora, whatever his name is, Electric Cat.
Greedent, by the way, is Big Boy Squirrel.
Big Boy Squirrel. I'm gonna go with that.
Yeah, no, it's a much better name.
Yeah, BBS. Big Boy Squirrel sounds better.
No, you can't do an acronym. No, it's just Big Boy Squirrel. You have to say all the syllables.
Yeah, and it definitely feels like they're. Well, a couple months ago, whenever the Long Beach F1 race or just race was happening. Yes. Thank you, the human calendar. That's actually why I said it.
You are welcome.
So around September, they put out a survey, a very, very in-depth survey. That, if you answered it, you got some rewards. like guaranteed it wasn't like a enter for a chance to win, blah blah blah. But the kind of questions they asked definitely made it feel like they really cared. And I mean, I don't know, maybe because I haven't played a lot of Pokemon phone games or a lot of other games in general that have provided or have given out this kind of survey, but there was the usual kinds of questions like, what would you like to see improved? But they also kind of like attacked themselves in a few areas. They're like, what about the UI don't you like? What about this interface? What about this character you don't like? What about this? Like, there were a lot of what don't you like questions.
Please tell
And,
me you rated the menus like 1 star, if that's even possible, or lower, because those
no, yeah,
menu
and there were a
system
lot of
is
things
super
that like,
convoluted.
that I commented on, and you can see like literally over the past like 2 months, the main menu itself, like even just the main menu itself has gotten like 2 facelifts.
Oh,
Like things are shuffled around a little more. I would say it just looks more simplistic. Like it's just not as intimidating. You still have to get your rewards from a separate menu, but that's just kind of all these types of mobile games. But it's at least more apparent, and it doesn't feel. It feels more. I don't want to use the word fun because it's not necessarily fun, but it doesn't feel as much of a chore anymore. It doesn't feel like I'm just tapping through menus. I mean, they at least like they up the presentation. The thing they still haven't really fixed that much is just the performance of the main menu. That's still lagging a little, but it's not the worst case scenario. But one thing that they have been doing a pretty good job that I guess I've just grown to really like is just these costumes they've been giving these Pokemon at a really rapid pace. Except for Cramorant, one of my favorite Pokemon from the last generation, who finally in the winter event, I mean, I don't know how long this game has been out, like earlier this year, like he finally got a costume. Like it's like a baker. But everyone else has gotten like 8 million costumes. Like Slowbro alone has so many. He literally has like a bro costume. It just makes him look like a surfer dude. But he also has
hmm.
like a costume that makes him look like a college student that's about to like just chill at a party or something. With
So
like
just
his
all
beer
the
and a red
bros.
cup in the corner. Yeah. You get a nice variety. But yeah, they've been doing a good job of just like giving out a steady stream of costumes. They have plenty of side activities to give you plenty of free Pokemon. Like even Serena, the newest plant Pokemon, like that one was just straight up free if you just signed in between last week and I think next week. It's kind of like a tight window. And
That's part of the holiday stuff they're doing, right? Like,
yeah,
it's that, it's Dragonite.
and during the holiday stuff, like including Halloween, they have like they redecorate the arenas, the music kind of changes, like like what a lot of other. I mean, the only other ones I really have point of comparisons to is Brawl Stars and Hearthstone, but they're all in line with that. Like during Halloween, get they all get spookified. They have Halloween themed costumes. They have like daily things like in Pokemon Unite. Every day that you signed in, you would get pumpkins that you could use as currency to either get like accessories for your trainer, or you could build them up to get a full fledged like Halloween costume for one of your Pokemon, or just one of the ones that they're offering. And they seem to be doing the same thing for the Christmas stuff. And
What is it? It's not gonna be pumpkins. Is it like snow lights, like gingerbread cookies? Like what's the currency? Do you know? Have they announced it?
I'm not sure yet. I think it's snowflakes.
Oh,
I'm not sure.
no. So my
Maybe they're
first
just not
guess,
having it for the
actually.
Christmas. But regardless, um, I still see a lot of potential in it, especially as the roster continues to grow. And not to mention just the very inspired, I don't know, actually, maybe not inspired, but like just like the creative choices they've been taking with these Pokemon. Like, as we've mentioned, we have Big Boy Squirrel, Serena, and then just between those two and the fact that we also have, like Wigglytuff and Crustle, like most of them, I bet you've even tell to the just the passive Pokemon fan may even be like, who? Like they're really grabbing Pokemon from like every corner, like not just the mainstays, which is great. Like I like that they're showcasing all these Pokemon that I would otherwise never give a second thought to. Like I would never have thought about Greedent. I could care less about that Big Boy Squirrel, but he's there, and I guess it's Stockholm syndrome. I forget what the proper term for this, but like the more you see something, in some cases, generally you tend to like it a little more, just by
Familiarity bias,
association.
kind of.
Maybe I know that's a
No,
thing
that's
with
not it.
people.
That's not it. But I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's neat, and I'm just
It,
hoping they just continue to grow. I know like one thing we mentioned in the survey that still hasn't really been addressed yet is just the swinginess of the Zapdos in the middle. Like, yeah, it's great that you have a mechanic that can allow you to win, so you're always technically in the game, but sometimes it's a little too oppressive. Not to mention, they just kind of need to switch it out. Like it's always Zapdos in the last 2 minutes. It's always like there's a point in the game where in the beginning it feels kind of fluid and like, oh, you're adapting on the fly, things are going, blah blah blah. But then as soon as like the 2 minute mark hits, it's almost like you're just going off your checklist of things you need to do, and it's always the exact same, unless like one of your teammates screws up because I guess you just need a team of 5 friends to play. But usually we can only manage with 3, which for my purposes it's fun enough. But sometimes you have a teammate that goes AFK. Sometimes you have a teammate that is a little too aggressive and is just feeding them PowerPoints, and then you get steamrolled. But
that was going to be my question when you mentioned Zapdos and how it's still an issue. Do they change? So they dress up characters, they dress up stages, they dress up currencies. Do they actually change the gameplay at all, or is it still that one stage? Like, there's only so much you can do with aesthetics,
I mean, no, yeah, I mean that's like it's pretty much just that one stage. I haven't really had an issue with like games feeling dull. Like, it's kind of like Smash Brothers. Like, I could play on Final Destination against the same person for hours and hours and not really get bored.
That's
Because there's little minutiae to each fight that makes them feel unique, which you could kind of say about this as well. But unfortunately, like there are certain aspects that do have to happen at a certain way. Especially it's mainly the beginning of the game and the end of the game. Like the beginning of the game, there's a period of like maybe like 45 seconds where before you even interact with your opponent, and depending on the Pokemon you pick, you pretty much have like a set path that you need to take. And I know games like these will eventually change their arena, like after a good while, which it's going to obviously make it feel really fresh. The Pokemon that they keep adding always change it up because you have to take that into account, given their range or what they're capable of, or how quickly they can blow you up if you're not careful. So it's still staying fresh. The only other thing that I had put in the survey that I'm kind of, guess I'm not shocked. I mean, like again, I haven't really paid attention to a lot of the other Pokemon mobile games, but it's just like the lack of high intensity music. Like, it feels like listening to imitation Pokemon, even though this is an official Pokemon game. Like, I would have loved to hear some of the battle themes. I mean, they have so much good music, like from every generation. Like even the Sword and Shield, I felt had really great music. And speaking of that, why hasn't Pokemon released the soundtrack to Sword and Shield on iTunes? They've been doing that for every single Pokemon game up until that point, and I've been buying every single one of them because I'm more than happy to give them my money for official soundtracks, but they just stopped at Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee arbitrarily.
And never
Which,
addressed
I don't
it
know,
or
is that
anything?
like,
They just stopped releasing
they just
them?
kind of, yeah, they just stopped. There was like no warning or anything. At one point, they were even tweeting at like, "Oh, here is Diamond and Pearl, here's Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire." I don't know if it has anything to do with Nintendo, because Nintendo is historically pretty stingy with their music. Which, like, why the heck haven't they put any of their other music on streaming services? I mean, they teased us, I don't know how many years ago, with Jump Up Superstar and a sampling of the Mario Odyssey soundtrack. But then,
Yeah, well, that was just an MP3 that they put, like they just literally hosted a download link to a 1.5-minute MP3. Like, maybe they just don't know how to use streaming services. Like, I don't know.
yeah,
I mean, I guess it was on iTunes. They did sell it. I take that back. They did sell it.
no, yeah, that's
briefly.
right. But like, so we know they're capable of it, but they just refuse to, and it sucks because, like, I mean, I have most of the music ripped because I just don't have any other choice because I love listening to that soundtrack. I mean, when I did my Spotify recap or whatever it's called, like,
Wrapped.
yeah, my most listened to genre was video game music, and I think my top 5 artists of the 5, I think 4 were video game related. Surprisingly, listened to a ton of Final Fantasy VII to make it my second most listened to artist of the year. And I still haven't even played those games, which just kind of goes to show you just how good the music is on some games. But, but Nintendo, they're still releasing audio CDs. They still produce them. I mean, they released the entire Breath of the Wild soundtrack. You could buy that on Amazon. Is it available
in Japan?
digitally anywhere? To
clarify, in Japan. The U.S. branch is lame and doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah, we're lucky if we get them as Club Nintendo rewards, which we have. I mean, we got like the Smash Brothers one for a pre-order. We got the Ocarina of Time and the Majora's Mask, but
and that was years ago.
Yeah,
that's when it was still Club Nintendo, opposed to now my Nintendo.
When we went to Japan last, awesome trip. Everyone, it was Sorry, Jason.
I wasn't on that trip, so
maybe that's what was awesome. But
sure.
There was a point where the group and I, we went to a Tower Records, and it was just so great seeing like, oh my god, look, Splatoon, you could just buy it. Like, just a bunch of Nintendo soundtracks. I ended up getting an Ace Attorney one, but
that's the one that's so strange to me is Splatoon, because they put such an emphasis on the in-game music. They have bands in the game. They do concerts. They stream the concerts here on their YouTube here sometimes, and yet there's no way to like listen to it outside the game.
Yeah, without like and there's plenty of people that do. Like, there's plenty of people that rip the. I mean, yeah, like the best of like legitimately, the best legit way to listen to their music, I guess, in their eyes, is to literally just boot up Smash Brothers and use your Switch as an MP3 player, because they kind of built that functionality in it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but you have to walk around with a 6-point-whatever-inch screen sticking out of your back pocket.
Yeah,
Joy-Con
that's what
dangling.
Nintendo wants us to do, I guess. I mean, I guess of course they do, but it's not like we're even incentivized to take it with us everywhere, because it's not like we have Street Pass or something. I mean,
and even then, it was more compact with Street Pass.
You thought you played it a lot in handheld mode, but apparently it's like a third of your time spent in playing your Switch.
This is true. The Switch year in review thingy came out, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to see my stats. And then it's like, you spent 143 hours in docked mode and 41 hours in handheld. I'm like, wait, but I've been saying on the podcast I play it in handheld almost equally with docked, and apparently I'm a liar. So, but yes, thanks for pointing out I'm a liar, Angel.
Yeah, big liar, pants on fire.
I know. But even then, like even with the 3DS, it's still kind of cumbersome to play music that way, because you had to I mean, I understand they wanted you to do Street Pass and stuff, but like, you couldn't play it in your car. You couldn't, like, it's hard, unless you have an aux cable, but there's no Bluetooth. Like, there's a lot of pitfalls. I mean, I don't listen to that much game music, but there are people like you that listen to it. I mean, Kevin, do you listen to much game music? Like, just outside of games?
No, I listen to way more anime music, like anime openings.
And are they better with anime openings about getting those on streaming, or is it just, like, non-music, like, music in terms of
specifically anime openings, yes, because anime openings will usually be actual songs that are released on the radio.
Oh, interesting.
So it's they're not necessarily always created for the show. They will usually be like a single from a top artist over there that they will then just make it to an anime opening. Angel, have you listened to the new Demon Slayer opening? Because it's a slapper.
No, but I'm looking forward to it.
It slaps
your tweet,
hard.
I was like, oh man. Because that was the one thing I was nervous about. I was like, damn, like, freaking...
It's not going to be the first season's opening, but it's really good.
Yeah, but it's a good song. I mean, it's just like when you hear like 99 and you're like, oh man, that's such a good song. What are they going to do for season 2? But then they bust out
99.9 comes,
and then it's oh man, they did it.
I can...
And now we have a season 3 coming out. So what is that going to be?
Yeah, what, 99.99 maybe?
I guess so. Yeah, they're just
or full 100. I don't know. I could go on about anime openings.
They're getting into Square Enix level of titles here. If they do that, I mean, I guess it's still like consistent and not like whatever Nier's version 1.3925.
Because technically 99.9 is 99.90, right? So
yeah,
that's true. But I do find most mind-boggling about the soundtrack thing with games, at least with Nintendo, is like, even if Nintendo's like being lazy about it, there's the sheer amount of money they're leaving on the table. Like, it doesn't cost much to do this, and it's just free money. They're not hosting the servers.
Can someone tell us, like, are we being ignorant? Like, is it actually for some reason really hard to get all these things like just uploaded.
No,
so
it's not. It's not.
Give them
I
money.
mean, we know how hard it is to get
I mean-
something onto a streaming service. We put the podcasts on all of them, and it's not hard at all. I mean, maybe
but, I mean,
music's
is it the
slightly
exact
different,
same
but
thing though? I mean, I'm sure there's some.
It's slightly
differences.
different.
I mean,
but there's
I
companies
mean,
that do it.
obviously, I'm not. Yeah, I'm obviously not expecting them to put up the Smash Bros. Soundtrack because
I mean,
of
music
so
rights
many things
have
you can't
always
put
been historically some of the toughest rights to acquire.
This is true. So I can understand Smash being an issue. But
up. Maybe
I'm thinking,
Koji
like,
Kondo just
Pokemon.
really doesn't want his music on streaming services. I guess.
I just think like Pokemon though, like they've done it already, so we know they can do it. They own the rights to it. Pokemon Company, like that's why Pokemon Company, if you look at the spine of a game box, that's a Pokemon game. Pokemon Company's logo is right there with Nintendo's. Like they have the IP under their control. Nintendo just kind of like has a weird deal with them.
Yeah, it's
but
not even.
it's weird. And like,
Yeah.
I don't know, to serve up another Jason Jason Sales snack real quick, to serve up some escargot for you guys. Like Pokemon Unite has 50 million players apparently now between the Switch and the mobile versions. And Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl have sold 6 million copies in a week. That is double what Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee sold in their launch week, and those have music available. It is double what Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire sold in their opening week, and it has that music available. So, like, clearly...
Checking iTunes right now, just in case.
Yeah, just in case those aren't
reason it got
anymore.
added. I
But you
got
said they
the
were.
December gift.
But yeah, it's just clear, like, there's more interest in Pokemon now, based on those numbers, the 50 million, the 6 million, whatever, than during the period where they were releasing the soundtrack. So it makes even less sense now for them to back off. Like, I don't get it. It's bizarre. Are they on there, though, Angel?
Yeah.
Because the last thing we want to do is peddle fake news. So if they're not there, we should inform our lovely listeners.
I mean, if they are, they're going to be excited. I mean, they weren't there the last time I checked, but that was like...
No, I mean, the old soundtracks. They're still there, right?
Oh, man, I hope they're still there. Let's see.
I'm looking.
Well, I mean, I'll just get back to you after.
They're there. And it's under Game Freak, interestingly. So that's a new wrinkle. Game Freak's the one that's listed as the artist. Not Pokemon Company, not Nintendo. So maybe there's something there. But I don't know. It is bizarre. You're right.
Game Free. Yeah, it still ends at Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. Not sure
And again,
what the deal
those
is.
are based on 1 week of sales. Half as popular as the new ones. Half as popular as Sword and Shield, and yet nothing.
I mean, we all know they love money, so
Yeah.
I guess it's as good as mine is too. Like, I'm just trying to imagine, like, the shareholder meeting. Like, have they just not come up? Like, have they been that...
You know what's
stacked
funny?
with,
No,
like, other
it has.
news?
It has. I forgot about that. A while ago, a year or two ago, in the shareholder Q&A that they do, someone asked Nintendo, like, so when are you putting your music on streaming? And Nintendo was just kind of like, oh, you know. And didn't really answer. And they're like, we're looking, it's an option. But, like, their whole thing about being an IP-first company and IP expansion and, bringing more people into the fold, like, this seems like such an easy move. It's strange. It's very strange. Maybe 2022 will be the year that they all get uploaded. Every game ever made.
Damn.
But in the meantime, was there anything else you wanted to mention with Pokemon Unite?
No, that's pretty much it.
Okay, so in that case, we've talked about what we've played. I guess we've talked about the games we wanted to listen to and can't. So all that's left are the games we watched, and that's where the Game Awards come in. So on Thursday, December 9th, for approximately 3.5 hours, we got games, lots of games, ads for games, CG trailers for games, some occasional gameplay of games, and yet not a single Nintendo game. But as a show overall, how do you guys feel about this year's Game Awards?
I mean, it didn't have Smash Brothers, so it was
True.
really hard to get me to watch it. But I mean, they had
you
the Sonic
were in the
trailer,
group
so...
chat with us. You were kind of tuned in, it seemed.
Yeah, I was just kind of there, just kind of watching the reveals. But I mean, it was fine.
What a good summary. Like literally just like a Larry David gif.
It was fine.
Kevin, you were more like actually tuned in, right?
Oh, you cut out there. What was that for me?
Oh, I was just saying you were more tuned into the show than Angel, I think, right?
Yeah,
You're
I was. Yeah,
So
I
what
was
did you
actually.
think of
I
it?
was watching it as it was going. It's not great to put it mildly. This might be the final year that I actually look at this thing live.
Really?
Unless there's some huge changes. Yeah, it just didn't. it's this weird thing where like the announcements I feel like just weren't there. Especially after all the hyping up that I feel like Jeff made beforehand, where he said, hey, there's going to be some reveals or some trailers that are going to be on the scale of that Elden Ring reveal during Summer Games Fest. And the only one that actually felt that way was probably Alan Wake 2 and maybe Arc Raiders.
I am so confused by Arc Raiders. Like, the game looks one way, and then all the logo and, like, design is like a completely different game. It looks cool, but I don't understand how those connect.
Yeah,
but no, I do. I mean, I could see. I don't know if he said how many did he say would be like Elden Ring? Like 4 or 5?
He said that there's going to be like 4 or 5.
I could see like Hellblade as a next gen showcase, quote unquote. Maybe Star Wars Eclipse as like, look at this big IP we got. Maybe Wonder Woman, maybe. But yeah, I do get what you mean. Like, maybe it's weird because like even Suicide Squad on some level, like Rocksteady's a huge developer, so in a way.
Okay, I will
sense,
maybe give it to Star Wars Eclipse, but like everything else we had pretty much already seen. And not saying that we hadn't seen Elden Ring, but like
what about Wonder Woman? Like,
but Elden Ring
was so amazed that didn't get leaked.
Yeah, that was strange when he's like, no one had this on their bingo
glad that
card.
Didn't get leaked. I mean, that was like a.
Well, you know why he was glad it didn't get leaked? Because the trailer was 6 seconds long. It's just like, look, it's Wonder Woman, and then it ended.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why. And
so
that's
if it got
not
leaked,
necessarily enough to get me like, yo, this is on the same level of Elden Ring, you know?
Yeah.
And then aside from the reveals, it's like the award. I must have missed every single time that they gave an award. They like the only 2 or 3 times that they did it was like. It was when Simi Liu was on stage, when Reggie was on there, and the Game of the Year award. I don't even remember seeing anybody else. So like,
and
they
then
don't
they
even pay attention to the awards anymore.
Yeah, and they did that weird thing where they have before batched the awards together. You know, like Jeff comes up and is like, all right, we're going to give some awards out. Here's the winner of this. Here's the winner of that. But they did this thing this year that I don't understand where they didn't even say the names of the nominees. He's just like, here are the nominees. And then like a little screen popped up, you know, like an overlay on the screen. He's like, okay, and the winner is? Like they were so, granted, it was 3.5 hours, so they were pressed for time. But they were so pressed for time that they couldn't even say the names of the nominees at the game awards. It just seemed, I don't know, that was a little weird.
Yeah, so it's like, it's a mix of those two things. And like, you know, stuff like reveals, you know, I could always look at the Kotaku article afterwards or whatever.
Right.
Same thing with the awards, but like if they're not going to pay attention to the awards, then, I mean, what's even the point at that, you know?
Yeah, and like I do understand from a marketing perspective why they do it that way, but one thing I actually thought was really like kind of oddly charming about the virtual Game Awards last year was because it was virtual and because things were a little scaled down, they did a lot more awards than I think they did even before. And seeing all these people you don't know, like, was cool. Like, this year I felt like they focused on awards where they're people who are recognizable. You know, they have like Joseph Fares or whatever his name is for It Takes Two, and he's the personality in Game Awards universe now, you know, because of the Oscars thing, and they had like the Forza Horizon 5 guy who's presented the game at big events before. But like, I thought it was interesting when they had the person that won Best Performance, the what's her name? She plays Lady D, I guess, in Resident Evil 8. Like, I've never seen that person. She seemed incredibly grateful, and there was like kind of a touching moment. She's like talking about how it's changed her life, and it's just like more of that. Like, it's cool to see the spotlight on these developers or on these people who are involved with these games that you never see or hear otherwise. Like, don't just put the speeches to the people who you recognize or who you know from the industry. Like, let the others have a moment. And last year they did that well, just out of necessity because everything was virtual. This year that felt like it was missing. Yeah. So, it's, I think the award part got a little overshadowed. More so than usual. Because I get the balancing act. I get that. But this year it felt a little overshadowed. Too much.
Yeah. It's, and then not only that, like, 3.5 hours, Jeff. Really?
Yeah, that was long. I find it incredible.
There's always like articles that are like how many minutes of the Super Bowl were actually played versus like how much were like ads. I want to see that breakdown for the Game Awards.
So someone that Angel and I know on Twitter kind of did that. He stopped about 3/4, 4/5 of the way through, but he was counting the awards as they came through, and it was averaging an award every 20 minutes.
Yeah, no, that's not for the Game Awards. No, I don't think that's acceptable. I'm sorry, Jeff. I like you, man, but no.
I do find it kind of amusing to the point of the runtime. Did you notice that like a week before the awards, they suddenly bumped up the start time by like an hour?
Nope.
It was normally it starts at 5:30 and the main show's at 6. That's how they were promoting it. And then out of the blue, Pacific time. And then out of the blue, they're like, 4:30. 5 o'clock start time. And I was like, why? And then I realized the Kanye and Drake concert, 5 minutes away from the theater is why they bumped it up, I think, because they're both on Twitch. I really, and like Simu Liu, after he presented at the Game Awards, he was sitting a section over from me at the concert, I later learned.
Oh.
So like they were like funny. Trying to like not have it overlap. So they literally moved a giant international video game industry award show up to make room for Drake and Kanye, which is bizarre to think about, but kind of, shows how weird this show is. It's moving around a concert. There's no confirmed reason that that's why, but it ended right when the concert was supposed to begin, opposed to overlapping it. And that seems, not coincidental, but maybe I'm wrong, especially since Twitch was a big sponsor of both. But
I'm bummed. I really wish I was way more into the Game Awards, but I think the fact that half of its identity is an
advertisement.
I guess a press event. I feel cheapens it. Like honestly, like even the fact that like Smash Brothers is there, I feel cheapens it because
there are other.
For more my point, I just went in there just to watch Smash Brothers. I feel like it may not be as exciting, but I think I think it would garner way more respect, or at least like for me, if it just did the awards. I think it just needs to do the awards. I don't know. I don't watch the Oscars. I don't watch the Grammys or the other stuff. So I don't know how much of that is also just awards or how much they like phone in a bunch of like upcoming stuff as well. But I think some performances are fine.
They do that.
I think that's,
the Grammys kind of do.
Oh, the Grammys.
Yeah, the Grammys, the musical acts are like half
stuff?
New songs and half.
No, I meant more like focusing on like the upcoming stuff.
Yeah, like half of the Grammys
coming up.
They spend a lot more time on awards, but like half the Grammy performances, if not more these days, tend to be like, it's the live debut of this song, or it's the first time in the world you hear this brand new song from Taylor Swift, or like, even like that year.
Sure, but
it's also
when those are marketed, when like it's usually plus performances by.
Yes, no, that's true.
Hey, here is like new stuff
and
that's going to come out in the near future.
It's tricky and Jeff has covered this before. I like how we're on a first name basis with him now. But Jeff has covered this before a little in that, and he's not wrong. There are industry events that are entirely awards. There's DICE in February. There's the Game Developers Conferences, AIAS, Academy of Interactive Arts and Science Awards. And those were like pretty big like pedigree awards at one point. I remember Ocarina of Time, back in the N64 days, it won AIAS Game of the Year, and Nintendo slapped a logo of that on the box the following year, and just like as part of the box art for a while. So those have some pull, but I think what Jeff has run into or talked about running into is how do you get the scale of an audience to be able to see these people and understand what they've accomplished unless you bring along some announcements. The problem is, I think, it got totally, like we were saying before, you and me, Kevin, like it got totally overshadowed, the awards, by everything else. Like it used to be a little more of a 40-60. Now it's like 20-80. Yeah.
Yeah, like the Game Awards starts and it's like we've already announced like 30 awards like off screen or whatever.
A lot. To be fair, Grammys do that, Oscars do that. That's a common practice, and that one I do not understand at all.
But we could be better.
It would be.
Like gaming is already just fundamentally very different from like, music and movies because it kind of encompasses a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So there's definitely a challenge there to, I guess, just make it all work. Because which makes like the trailers that much, like I said, in my opinion, more hurtful for these events because sometimes they literally do nothing. Like, as good as a Wonder Woman game can potentially be, like that trailer
did nothing.
Does nothing.
Yeah, and I feel like
I feel
like the trailers put the Game Awards in a tough spot too, because like never mind, the ratio of award to
Yeah, because
trailer.
people will judge it based on that. Like, that's going to be part of like, oh man,
Yeah.
the reveals weren't that great, but remember who won? Like, I don't know, it's weird.
No, yeah, I agree, because like the problem is the reveals dictate the caliber of the show in a way, because they're like, obviously there's not a way to please everyone. Like, some people are gonna freak out about the Wonder Woman game and think it's awesome, even if it's 6 seconds of footage. Others are gonna be like us and be like whatever. And there's never a way to guarantee, year over year that the scale of the announcements will be the same. Like the year they revealed the Xbox Series X, you can't easily, on a scale of a console, you can't easily top that. Or like for us, or for me maybe, the lack of Nintendo this year was a bummer, because there's the expectation they'll be there. Like there could be like a dozen cool things not coming to Switch, but if I'm tuning in because I want my Nintendo announcement, it's not delivered, or Angel used to tune in for Smash and that's not there anymore, then the show isn't as exciting or interesting to us personally. And that, to your point, takes away from the fact that you're supposed to be recognizing all these accomplishments, but instead we're just like, why is there no announcement from Nintendo? Where's the Xbox size announcement? Like it's tricky. And I think,
it was even just weird that we got a Nintendo commercial. It was like
3 of them.
Commercial.
3 of them. But yeah, more broadly, I think what typically makes the Game Awards work for me is when they're able to exceed expectations. And I kind of mean that across the board, like announcements on one level, but also just like how they present games, when they're able to showcase things in different ways. Like when I thought, and it doesn't get any love, but I thought the stuff they do with the like Future Class and the thing they do with, like, a couple years ago they did with like I can't remember what, I think it might have been part of the Future Class, but they were highlighting like able gamers and stuff like that. And like that's a huge platform for those folks, for that opportunity to be able to express, your cause and talk about and do that sort of thing. They didn't even do anything of that caliber this year. Like everything, because it was like kind of either what we've seen before or less, made the whole show, announcements, awards, everything just feel kind of like down a notch, if that makes sense. And like, the idea that the show should always kind of exceed expectations in some way, like that could be in the form of the games that were shown, who they had present. Like I say it every time, but that Reggie, Jack Tretton, Phil Spencer all co-presenting moment, that's still one of my favorite things, because it was like the industry coming together in a way that it didn't before and hasn't since. But, it could be who performed at the show. Like the Koji Kondo Imagine Dragons performance from the first year stands out as something really unique. Or even this go around, to be fair, like I don't think a year ago anyone could predict that Sting was going to open the Game Awards, and he had a cool set design around him too. So like there's still moments that are kind of cool, but my point is like all those different elements, along with what the games are themselves and giving the awards a chance to shine, that's what makes the show more or less a success in my mind. And to the point about lack of megatons, that, we were talking about before, Kevin, like Keeley's job ultimately is to be the hype man of this thing, right? So he's going to come out and tell us that, hey, there's these 5 or 6 or 10 or 30 amazing games you gotta see. And his thinking is if he gets those games and they're in the show, then you'll respect everything else happening and you'll be into the awards and you'll give those developers their moment and everything. But when there aren't the awards to show, it kind of starts falling apart. And then when it's all surface level hype, it all starts falling apart. Like, he's right. Like we were saying, the next game from, I don't know, the acclaimed developers of Batman Arkham series, like Rocksteady, like that's worth attention. That is in and of itself, that's a big deal. Their game's been a long time coming. People are excited. But then you find out, it's Suicide Squad, which we've seen a couple trailers of already. The world premiere of gameplay isn't quite as exciting as when Jeff was like, oh, we got these huge developers, you can't wait to see what they're up to. It's like, well, we kind of know what they're up to. Or like the Matrix experience thing, that Unreal Engine 5 demo. The technology behind it is kind of exciting for what's next for the industry. There's no denying that. But like, I mean, really, that demo, back before the PS5 came out, they had a similar demo where they're walking through like a desert or something. Like it was the same amount of environmental detail, just a different type of environment. It wasn't significantly longer or shorter than the Matrix one. Like they're basically kind of two peas in a pod, and having that be like the big finale, and then doing the thing they did 2 years ago where it's like, oh, we're ending with actually a movie tie-in. Like 2 years ago it was Fast and Furious and they had the actors on stage. This year it was Matrix and they were just in a pre-recorded video. Like again, it's kind of like once the expectation's set, once they've done something, people are going to make the comparison. So even if your job is hype man and you're doing all these things to get the awards, like to get their due, it's hard
then
when they
they
don't
don't.
line up
Yeah.
to what they were in the past. That's the kind of thing. Even actually, here's a good one because I know you groaned about it. When they had the show be quote unquote hacked by Amanda Wallace to debut Suicide Squad.
Oh, yeah.
That was straight up Joker
That
from
I
Smash
did
from a
not
couple
like.
years back, just cringier.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or like Imagine Dragons, like it was cool that they gave Supergiant Games their due and they got to do that collaboration. But like I was just talking about, Imagine Dragons already mixed one of their latest singles with a video game song a few years ago. They couldn't even get a different band to do it. Like it felt very familiar, and I think that hurts the overall like hype. Because this is something, to be fair, all award shows suffer from. I'm sure. Like it's hard to be constantly creative when your hands are tied by the output of the industry you're honoring. But I think
I'll say this: the stage looked nice.
Oh yeah, no, and that honestly, the set design's the one thing I think they always nail, and they always do little tweaks that like elevate it in some way.
Yeah.
Like this year, the floor was a screen. I don't know if you guys noticed that. It was only in a few
the
shots.
look is always great.
Yeah, they have really good set designers, and also the orchestra and doing the medley every year of songs and kind of tying in with some of the games. Like that's always cool. But yeah, I think just the same sameness this year, even if you ignore the awards and just talk about the announcements, like there's less unique stuff to break it all up. I mean, like there are kind of moments like the pot friend from Elden Ring, which was kind of in the vein of like past Muppet tie-ins, I guess. But like, I don't know. It's not really anyone's fault in particular. There's just a general familiarity that seemed to make this year just less exciting. Like even among the games that were revealed, how many squad-based kind of borderline horror experiences were there? How many graphically looked pretty similar to one another? It's not that, I don't think these games are worth being excited for. They are if you're into those games, but they kind of homogenized over 3.5 hours. Like, and Jeff does his best to curate. I'm not saying it's his fault per se. He threw in stuff like Thirsty Suitors in the pre-show, which looked kind of interesting, kind of like a Scott Pilgrim idea flipped on its head. Somberland in the main show, I think that was the kind of 2D spaced one. That was kind of cool and stood out just against everything else. But again, like if the industry trends are that locked into a single trope or a single idea, like all these trailers are going to kind of be the same. Even on a small scale, the fact that they gave Telltale Games 2 reveals, and both reveals were for a sci-fi story-driven game where you mainly sit on a ship, whether it's Star Trek or The Expanse, like in the same show, 2 of the same genre, doing the same thing.
I did not realize that.
Yeah,
that didn't hit me until now. It's like, yeah, they're both sci-fi space games.
Yeah, it's like, what are you like?
That's
and again,
so
it's no one's fault. That's just what the output of the industry.
And one of them
is.
had already been revealed earlier today, the day of.
Yeah,
too.
that too. And it's I think we go in hoping for a really cool award show where there's some fun reveals that are different and unique. But I think we and anyone else that was kind of bummed by the show, it's like E3 really. There are good years and there are meh years. It's based on the console cycle, the whatever trends are in the industry. Like that year, every game company had to do a battle royale. Like it's the Game Awards, because they're at the scale they are now, are gonna fall into those same traps. Unfortunately,
there was one really, really cool year. Oh man, I don't remember what it was. I don't remember if it was the last Spike Game Awards or if it was the first The Game Awards, where they had like this AR mixed in with it. Do you remember that?
Vaguely, yes. It might have been the last Spike one, possibly.
Yeah, that was really cool because they did focus on the awards. Yeah, they had some reveals, but then even the awards part was really, really cool, where they were mixing in like alternate reality graphics onto the stage and stuff like that. That was really cool.
And there's stuff
that'd be cool too,
right? And there's stuff that just been saying that he wants to do that kind of like goes in that direction. Like he was talking about, like one thing I thought was kind of interesting he said was that the Matrix demo thing, like the Matrix experience, which is all of a 11-minute demo once you download it. But he was saying, in the future, how cool would it be if more of the stuff you see on stage is something you can experience yourself that same night? Or what if there are things that are more directly tied in? Like one thing they did that got no attention.
Yeah, but that's not any different. That's not any different to when like at E3 people are like, and it's out today. Like there's nothing really different about that.
That's true. But there was, but I think kind of in that direction, one thing they did that was sort of interesting and got no attention. And frankly, maybe it didn't deserve attention. I forgot what platform it was, but they had a virtual viewing party of the Game Awards where it's kind of in like I hate to say the word, but a metaverse. But it was in some game and you could all like hang out with your friends in it and use the chat and stuff, but you can like they had like emotes and stuff that tied in, and like it was kind of like you're watching the Game Awards in a game, which, take it or leave it, that is different. That's definitely different. So if they start experimenting more with that,
true.
or augmented reality, or doing virtual reality stuff like that, at least will kind of keep it fresh, or perhaps maybe not a good way, but it'd be cool to see them experiment. I do have to imagine though, in like not to, in the Game Awards defense, in the industry's defense, like I think compounding this whole issue was the chip shortages, right? Because like one of the things Jeff was saying to hype up the show this year is we're gonna get the first look at what true next gen gaming is, and there was the Matrix demo, there was Hellblade, but to serve up a third brief Jason's sales snack here, the problem is the install base 1 year in for these systems isn't where it should be, so developers are kind of, their hands are tied. They can't really put out these more next gen experiences just yet. So like even in terms of looking to the future, we're not at the point where as many games can push the boundaries as perhaps we have been in other generations. So for point of reference, here comes the sales snack. MPD numbers for November, normally one of the busiest months of the year, show that total game industry sales were down 10% year over year due to a 38% decline in hardware. For comparison, a year into the previous generation, so the PS4 and Xbox One era, the two of them, plus the Wii U, had a higher total sales number than the 2021 triple header of PS5, the Xbox Series consoles, and the Switch. So to reiterate that, PS4 and Xbox One, essentially on their own because, you know, Wii U, sold more in 2014's November than what the PS5, the pair of Xbox Series systems, and the still top-selling Switch were all able to move combined this November. So there's clearly some shortages happening. There's clearly lack of install base. And the Switch, mind you, still sold 1.13 million by itself in November. But again, to my point about the chip shortages, that's down. So it has the OLED model as a factor. That should boost sales higher, but due to the lack of supply, that's 250,000 fewer Switches sold this November than what happened a year ago with only 2 models versus 3. And the PS5 and the 2 Xboxes combined in November this year sold less than what the Switch sold in total. Combined. PS5 and Xbox Series S and X all couldn't match the Switch. So, you know, it's totally a supply issue. Like, demand's there across the board. It's whoever can get those systems onto shelves that wins. Like, it's, you know, it's why over in the UK and Europe, the Switch actually just had its best sales week ever because they were able to get supply there when they needed it. But my point about the Game Awards is, where it's become especially problematic is if you're going to hype up next gen, the next gen systems, the publishers aren't going to switch over to truly next gen experiences if the user bases are lagging. They want to do more cross gen. They want to do things that will sell in the short term until they get to that audience. So when the Game Awards tries to do the new thing, the thing to differentiate, and they decide, oh, it's a look at next gen, which was one of Jeff's talking points. I don't know. It just felt like it wasn't really there. You had a tech demo for the Matrix. You had some stuff that was either like, it looks kind of like what we're used to now, or it's like this non-tangible, distant feeling, very small peek at what may happen in the year 20XX if you stay tuned. And I think that also probably hurt the show this year. Because it couldn't even lean on that hook, which is normally what E3 leans on going into a new console generation and things like that. So it was just like hit from all sides, I feel like. Which isn't, again, really anyone's fault. It's just kind of circumstance. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but it just seems like the chip shortages weren't doing them any favors either.
I mean, yeah, every industry's feeling the chip shortage right now. For sure.
Yeah, and I think it kind of, like the fact that everything was so like, not rote, but kind of rote, maybe also explains why Nintendo wasn't there. Like, not to toe their company line or anything, but they always talk about wanting to, you know, surprise and delight, right? Like, put smiles on people's faces, et cetera, et cetera. And if you look at their track record with the Game Awards, they are always going for the curveballs, you know, the things that will psych out and then I guess psych up the core game crowd. So you see it, you know, every Smash reveal they did at the Game Awards was always characters that are as un-Nintendo as they come, or when they make an announcement, it's some old franchise that people didn't expect, you know, Marvel Ultimate Alliance or Bravely Default or Bayonetta or Metroid Prime 10 years after Metroid Prime 3, you know, even in the first Game Awards, like the idea that Nintendo would do a like 10-minute deep dive into the new Zelda's gameplay at an event like an award show, like that was unexpected. So they pulled the trigger. But I think what happened here is they don't have surprises right now. I mean, you could see they still like handled the show how they typically do. They still support it with an eShop sale. They still sent Doug Bowser, NOA's president. They still ran their commercials like we were talking about, to highlight all the games they do available. But they also had that ad for their 2022 lineup, which I don't know if you saw, Angel. Kevin, you might see it because you're paying a little more attention. But the ad amounted to like, hey, we already announced our stuff for next year. This is what it is. And like, they're not wrong. We know an awful lot about the lineup for the Switch in 2022 compared to past years. Like, I can't think of a past year that Nintendo's given us as much insight this far in advance into exactly what we're getting in the next year. I mean, we know we have Pokemon Legends Arceus coming, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Splatoon 3, Bayonetta 2, Triangle Strategy, Mario & Rabbids 2, Breath of the Wild 2, assuming it doesn't get delayed. Those are all confirmed just for 2022, which averages to a game roughly every 8 weeks for the entire year, should they want to do that. So I guess they could have like pulled the rumored Xenoblade 3 out of their hat, but that, I don't know. Is that gonna get a reaction at the Game Awards? They could get the same reaction if they open or close a Nintendo Direct with that game. Like, and we're certainly not gonna see 2023 or 2024 games. Nintendo plays further out titles much closer to their chest after the Metroid and Bayonetta things that went wrong. So like, again, it's not the Game Awards' fault, but like, even when you can't even get Nintendo to have a surprise because they don't have any surprises. You're kind of stuck. Like there's no way Nintendo could have shown anything that would have been of the caliber of their past years. I think they wouldn't want to disappoint folks, but if they take exactly what they could show for 2022 and stick it in a Direct, where expectations are already a different ball game, they have nothing to worry about. They're gonna get a more positive, possibly equally big reaction if they just do it on their own versus at the Game Awards. So that was just another sort of death by a thousand cuts of this year's show. I think it's just, Nintendo had no reason to be there, so they just weren't. Yeah, I think I'm done ranting now. That's my many thoughts on the Game Awards.
Your many thoughts and your many snacks on the Game Awards.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
But
you gave us a whole buffet there.
I know. And but to be fair, Nintendo wasn't there. There was Nintendo news, kind of. I mean, I guess Nintendo was there because they co-opted the Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak trailer to confirm those 3 amiibo. But like, where Nintendo wasn't, third parties did step up a little. We learned there's a cloud version of A Plague Tale Requiem coming to Switch. The Lord of the Rings Gollum game got a teaser, and that's Switch-bound. Cuphead's DLC, Delicious Last Course, is now coming June 30th. I personally enjoyed the old-timey song to announce the news for that one. I don't know about you guys. Actually, Angel, I have to imagine you're probably getting the DLC, huh? Or is that more of an Elvis game?
It's
Angel game?
most likely.
Kevin, did you play Cuphead?
Hell yeah. I loved Cuphead.
I don't remember ever talking about it with you, so I assume you're all in on the DLC too.
I don't remember if I was on the podcast back then.
You might not have been. That might be why.
Yeah. Yeah, but I loved Cuphead. So yes, I will be picking up the Delicious Last Course. Which I hope they're not taking seriously. Like, I would hope that there's more DLC, but...
Oh, they're saying this is it. Yeah, I mean,
it's a full-blown sequel.
Oh, they
keep saying
they did
it.
say?
They keep saying this is it,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if they
considering
then
how long it took Cuphead to come out,
Yeah.
then yeah, that kind of makes sense.
and how long the show's now taking to come out. I could see them doing the DLC, launching the show, then circling back with a proper sequel after the show and the bigger audience. But
Or you know what? I actually hope that they do something else, because
they're a
I
talented
don't need a
crew, that's for
Cuphead
sure.
sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love when smaller studios, I'll censor this, but when they whip their out for like their first game, and then just kill it with something new afterwards.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, so I'd be curious to see what they do next, almost more so than the Delicious Last Course. Like, Cuphead's fun, but I suck at it because it's such like a bullet hell type of deal. But yeah, but besides,
Cuphead is one of those games where you spend like 12 hours trying to beat a boss, and then you're like, I'm just gonna do this tomorrow, and then the next day you do it within like your first couple of tries.
Yeah,
It's
which to be
perfect
fair,
type of
even
games.
for me, when I'm, have to lower the difficulty, it is very gratifying when you come back later and just like kill it, literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
But yeah, besides those couple games, there's only really one third party who kept things interesting on the Switch side, and that was Sega. They had 2 Switch games. 2. Everyone else had barely one. But they had Sonic Frontiers, and through their Atlas subsidiary, which is still weird to say out loud, Persona 5 Arena Ultimax. Kevin?
Actually, Persona 4
Sorry, I misspoke.
Arena
You're right.
Ultimax.
It is Persona 4. It's right here in my notes. It's 4, and I still said 5.
Wow.
Man.
Credibility outdoor.
I know. I'm just gonna leave the show now. No, but Kevin, you are our resident Persona person. Is there hype to be had with this? Like, what is it? It looks like a fighting game.
Persona 4 Ultimax is the sequel to Persona 4 Arena, which is an Arc System Works fighter. So,
like,
if you've played any of the
Guilty Gear,
of Blaze Blue, of Dragon Ball Fighters, of were you gonna say one? Were you gonna bring one up?
I was gonna say Guilty Gear.
Yeah, Guilty Gear.
Yeah.
They had another one recently called Grand Blue Fantasy Versus. I don't know if that came to Switch.
These names.
But anyways, Persona 4 Arena was very well received. That was the first game that I believe Arc started to be a little more casual friendly. They had, I believe that's the game that started auto combos for like their fighters in the future. So I know Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball Fighters had an auto combo. I think that was their game afterwards. I believe Grand Blue Fantasy Versus also had one. I don't know if the new Guilty Gear Strive has one, but
the Game Award winning Guilty Gear Strive.
True.
Yes. Or sorry, Guilty Gear Strive .
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, we never got Persona 4 Arena Ultimax here in the States. As well received as Persona 4 Arena was. And it was a straight up, Persona 4 Arena was straight up a sequel to Persona 4. Whether it was canon or not is a different story. And so Arena Ultimax was the sequel to that one that brought in some more characters from the Persona 3 games. This is a big deal. I know that I know that Arc System Works just announced that the latest Blaze Blue games would be getting rollback netcode. I don't know if they've stated that this one would have rollback, but I'd be surprised if it didn't.
Yeah, it seems like if the architecture is in place, why would they then reverse course?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that'll be exciting to look forward to. I've never been a fighting game guy. I always wish that I was good at them, and Persona 4 Arena definitely helped along with those auto combos, because not only could you just use the auto combos to get like a decent combo going, but you could also use the auto combos for actual other regular combos. So you could auto combo into a regular combo, or you could combo into the auto combo, and it added a surprising layer of depth. I don't know if this one has that or not, because this one never came out in the States, so we'll just have to wait and see.
What is it? And maybe you don't have an answer to this, but why does Atlas seem to have some sort of weird vendetta against bringing the core Persona games to the Switch? Like, other people are noticing this, right? Like, there's no Persona 4, no Persona 5, but we have like 3 spin-offs between the two.
Yeah, I don't know, honestly.
Strange.
The Switch is absolutely perfect for the Persona games.
Yeah, it makes.
I know Persona. Yeah, Persona 3 got ported to the PSP, and Persona 4 had Persona 4 Golden on the Vita. So, I mean, it seems like a no-brainer to me.
Actually,
I'm sure it would sell like hotcakes.
I guess there was a Persona on Switch. If I'm not mistaken, wasn't Nocturne or whatever on? Is that Persona? That's a Persona, right?
That's Shin Megami Tensei.
Oh, you're right. Right. Oh man,
Don't you dare confuse
man. In the episode where we talk about both, I mixed them up. Oof.
We're gonna get some heat for that
I
one.
know.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, that's. I wonder if they'll like to because this is starting the 25th anniversary of Persona. This is the first release as part of that celebration, along with like a vinyl album collection or something. I wonder if they'll like wrap the anniversary by porting over Golden and 5 and all that to Switch, and even to like next gen systems.
Cool.
You know,
Persona
like
5 Crimson would be cool.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. But yeah, that was game 1 from Sega by way of Atlas. The other game so this one closed out. This was like the transition from the pre-show to the main show with Persona. And then in the main show, we had a sort of more proper reveal, kind of Sonic Frontiers, which is a game we last saw like for 15 seconds in May or so. And now it's 90 seconds. And confirms...
Yeah, back when it was called Sonic Rangers, I believe was the working title.
Right. That sounds about right. Because I think that's what was... When we were talking about the rumors of it being kind of a Breath of the Wild game, it was Rangers at that point, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it turns out, different name, same idea. It looks like, based on the longer trailer, they're calling it an open zone game, not open world, open zone. But it does look very much in the vein of Breath of the Wild, right down to the obligatory shot of Sonic standing on a cliff, looking at a vast landscape. What do you guys make of it?
It's not Sonic Adventure 3, so into the trash it goes.
I was kind of hoping they would... I don't know. I have no idea what to think. I feel like the trailer says a lot without saying anything at all.
It screams Sonic 06 in art style, and I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, I kind of wish it was more in the Sonic Lost World style, because I thought that game just looked really great. Not that it has to be, tiny planets and stuff, just like that aesthetic.
The kind of bolder colors.
Actually make the world look like it's a game that Sonic came from, not plop them into our world again for the umpteenth time.
Yeah. I mean, Angel, does it give you any confidence knowing that apparently one of the writers of Sonic Boom, Ian Flynn, is going to be heading up the story here? Does that give you a little hope? Because I know you like Sonic Boom.
Maybe a little bit.
But even then, not so much? Just because of the real world?
Yeah, I guess not.
Yeah, it's... There's a part of me...
I guess I'm just going to... Cautiously optimistic, I guess.
Yeah, there's a part of me that's almost like weirdly cautiously optimistic. Like, I don't want to... I'm not going to. I'm not even in the area of doing this, but I don't want us to come to the Sonic cycle. The game presented is not doing that for me. Yet I do keep finding myself like repeatedly thinking about how an open world maybe actually could work for Sonic. Like, in kind of a Spider-Man game sort of way. Like, the Spider-Man games, you did combat and stuff, and I mean like the PS2 one and stuff. Like, you did combat and stuff, but like really a large portion of that game was about the travel, right? Like, there's people you could beat up, but how fun was it just swinging around those different New York cities in those games and getting that web slinging momentum going and doing different moves, and it was just kind of fun to just go around town. And I feel like if Sega plays their cards right, like the parallels are kind of there, because a big thing with Sonic games, right, is building the momentum, maintaining your top speed, kind of going around, even going back into 2D games.
And then accidentally hitting a wall and then losing
an open world, they're going
to have to figure out a way to get around that.
Well, I mean, an open zone doesn't have walls you have to hit. So if they can just translate that twitchy, like reactive gameplay to avoid walls and enemies and stuff into this, it could work. But the thing is, like, every time we talk about this game and see the game, there's the Breath of the Wild parallels, and that just feels off. Like, if they are doing Breath of the Wild is slower, it's more methodical, you're doing like physics puzzles, you're cooking, you're crafting, climbing takes time, traveling takes time, even horseback takes time. But like, if they just, I don't know. And obviously Frontiers isn't doing itself any favors by looking like Zelda. I mean, literally, the cliff shot, the ancient ruins aesthetic of this supposed Starfall Islands that the game's set on, like...
It's not doing itself any favors by looking like Sonic 06.
Yeah, that too, but it's all contributing to this weird cognitive dissonance of what, like, Sonic is and what, like, the tropes of what they're showing, be it 06 or Zelda, like, represent, like, gameplay-wise. Like, they're such different things, but if they line this up right, and maybe I'm giving Sonic Team too much credit, but if what they're actually doing at the gameplay is kind of the like kinetic energy of like the Spider-Man games, at that point, like, it doesn't matter how Sega really structures what's going on, whatever sort of parallels to shrines they come up with or what boss fights you need to do or whatever. If they can create a world that's just fun to run through like it was to swing through Spider-Man, I feel like the rest can maybe fall into place here. Like, they have to figure out the twitchy gameplay, because you're right about the running into the walls. But honestly, like that's always something I didn't particularly like about Sonic, was you're doing your thing, and then there goes your momentum. It's gone. And I realized that, at the time they did that because the twitchy gameplay and figuring out the rapid fire decisions and making your way through things and overcoming those obstacles and those enemies and whatnot is the idea, but they can like, I don't know, sub that out for maybe as you're running around the open world, I don't know, maybe there's different enemies you can interact with, or there's different like missions you can go on that kind of like breeze by and you have to decide quickly what you want to do. Like maybe there's a way they can get the flow right where they could kind of Spider-Man it a little. And if they do that, that might actually be really fun, just in terms of that sort of feel. Or, because this is a Sonic Team Sonic game, it'll play out exactly as we all fear. It's going to be Sonic 06 2, and this is nothing but a pipe dream of mine, but, you know, the better game, but who knows? But yeah, I'm holding out a little hope. I feel like if they nail that feeling of running, there could be something here. Maybe. I don't know. Fingers crossed.
We can only hope.
Yeah. But the Game Awards did give us a different Sonic thing too. We got a double dose because alongside Frontiers, we also got the first trailer for the second Sonic the Hedgehog movie, which introduces Tails, who's voiced by the same actress as the video games, which is pretty cool, and Knuckles, who I don't think we ever talked about this when the news broke. It's voiced by Idris Elba. So that's a thing. What did you guys think of the trailer? You more into that than the game?
Still haven't seen the
More into
movie.
that than the game. But
No, I mean, are you more into the trailer for the movie than you were the trailer for Frontiers?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it looks fun like the first one. But yeah, just cautiously optimistic, trying to keep expectations tempered. But I don't know. I like Knuckles. I like this voice. Loads of references, as many people have noticed. But
Yeah, that's what stood out to me.
Just looks fun.
The references really stood out to me. Like it feels like it's more comfortable in its video game skin, if that makes sense. Like the sheer number of like gamery things and references to the games, I don't know, it's just much more prevalent. Well, I saw a good list of them on GameSpot, which I'll link to in the blog post for this episode when I'm putting it all together. But yeah, I mean, they got the Chaos Emeralds, they got snowboarding, they got chili dogs, they got, you know, even the coffee shops called like Mean Beans. They have the biplane. It just seems like they're leaning a lot harder into the source material this go around, which is nice. It's kind of a trend I've noticed in video game adaptations in general. Like, I feel like up to this point, or up until the last couple of years, they're trying so hard to like normalize the concepts of games for non-gamers, but like these IPs are so big and mainstream that like, I don't think they really feel the need to do it anymore. I mean, we have a Halo TV show shown at the Game Awards that look just like Halo. There's a Resident Evil reboot that came out in theaters a month or two ago that just straight up lifted the set pieces out of the first game. Almost exactly the same. You know, Cuphead, Castlevania, League of Legends Arcane, all these are popular anime projects that stay very true to the source material from my understanding. It's just, if Sonic...
I don't play League of Legends, but Arcane is fun so far.
Yeah, I've only heard great things about it. Kevin, have you watched it?
No, I haven't seen it
I'm
yet.
surprised. I honestly thought you would have.
I mean, I don't play League of Legends.
No, I know, but just like you like things that are animated. I don't know. Like,
I mean, if it wasn't for like how much discourse has been going on at work about Arcane, like I probably wouldn't have watched it, even if it was just a good show. I mean, there's plenty of shows that we hear are good all the time, but
I think that's
this
why
one is talked about so much that I just had to be like, all right, I need to watch this because I can either just be like, yeah, that sounds cool, or be part of the conversation.
I think that's what I was trying to get at, Kevin. It's like you're usually up on the latest releases and what's like well received, so that's where, especially in the animated worlds, that's kind of where that came from. Yeah, but yeah, it's cool.
Understandable. I'll watch it at some point.
I feel like I'm gonna watch it just because I'm curious. And like all the music at the Game Awards was from Arcane. All two of the live performances was from Arcane. So, or I take that back, Cuphead. So all Netflix shows. There we go. But yeah, it's just nice that we're at this point where they don't need to like clean up stuff for a more general audience, make it more palatable or anything. Like it's just, you know, it doesn't need to be grounded. It could just be what it is. And I'm hoping Sonic 2, like it looks like it's being very like, I don't know how better word is, but kind of balls to the wall. Like my source material is a video game and it is what it is. And it's cool that they like are doing that after trying to make the first one a little grounded. So we'll see how it pans out in April, but it looks promising. I think that's it on the news side of the Game Awards, but we didn't cover the actual awards. I mean, we made predictions last episode, and we haven't talked about how right or wrong we were. Kevin, how did we do?
We did terribly. Jesus Christ. We Man. All right. We're not going through the entire
No,
thing.
of course not.
We're just going to go through the categories. Okay. Most anticipated, I nailed it with Elden Ring, and you guys chose both Breath of the Wild 2.
I didn't think Elden Ring would get it 2 years in a row, honestly.
I'm telling you, man, that trailer that came out, or that beta that came out, really helped out.
True.
Best multiplayer, we all got it right with It Takes Two. Best family game, we whiffed it super hard here.
Yeah.
That one went to It Takes Two as well. Best RPG, also whiffed it. It went to Tales of Arise, which none of us chose for either of our
Just to back up for a split second, what did we pick for best family? Did we all agree on Mario Party?
Yeah, we chose Superstars for both what we wanted to win and what we thought would win.
Isn't It Takes Two like about a divorce or something? It doesn't seem like a family.
Yeah,
It's about bringing a family together.
Yeah, but like
very awkward one
it's like
to start
kind
off
of a
with.
dark family game versus Pokemon Snap with cute little Bidoofs running around. But anyway, sorry, continue.
Yeah, best adventure, we nailed it with Metroid Dread.
Mhm.
Which, congrats, Metroid Dread.
Well deserved.
Best ongoing, whiffed it there as well. Final Fantasy 14 took that one. We all chose Fortnite, and then I chose Apex Legends as what I would want to win. Best art direction. Oh, you know what? I forgot we even did this one, but I'm pretty sure that didn't go to Ratchet and Clank, which we all chose. Ratchet and Clank didn't win anything, which
that was strange.
insane.
Art direction went to
Whoa, I am
Deathloop, if
surprised.
I remember correctly, Kevin.
yeah, and I don't think Psychonauts 2 won anything
No,
either.
it was weird. Yeah, it was like
yeah.
You know what's weird is art direction and direction were won by Deathloop. I'm kind of like, I understand they're different, but like different categories. But like, come on, like art. If you're gonna get best direction in Deathloop, you could highlight a different art style for art direction. Just saying.
Yeah, and then Game of the Year, we all whipped
Yeah.
it with our Metroid Dread pick. Went to It Takes Two.
Which
Well deserved for It Takes Two.
yeah.
I mean,
congrats, It
I
Takes
hear
Two.
nothing but great things about that.
Mhm.
So
But it's pretty wild how off
surprised,
we
but not disappointed. I
were.
guess.
Yeah.
And once I beat it, I'll definitely talk about it because it's definitely really fun so far. Very different.
Nice. Yeah. I went 3 for 8, and you guys, I think, went 2 for 8.
Jeez, that's embarrassing. Oh man, 25%. That's like super fail.
Best family game, I think, was the one that was like, Jesus Christ, really?
Yeah, I mean,
But
even when we were talking
whatever.
about it, we couldn't really settle on which of the Nintendo games was going to win, but we all just assumed it'd be a Nintendo game. Because It Takes Two, again,
Yeah.
tonally doesn't really fit as well, I feel like. Also,
Yeah.
a family game implies more than 2 people involved. Family. I mean, I guess you could play with like a sibling, but like I feel like if it's family, it's like you're all together, it's a group. I don't know.
I don't necessarily agree with that, but
Fair,
okay.
fair.
I mean, if it's just you and your partner, that's your family, right?
That's true. That's true. Actually, yeah, I guess that'd be more
Yeah,
best.
wouldn't you get this more than anyone because you come from a smaller family?
Right. Yeah. So I would think my whole family, because there's only 3 of us. So, yeah. Yeah, because obviously if you guys are your best family, like, oh, well, we're not going to invite like all the cousins over. That'd be nuts. And the game doesn't support that. But I'm like, oh, best family. Yeah, there's 3 of us. Easy. We could all do Mario Party. But now looking at the nominees, only Mario Party works with more than 2 people anyway. So I don't know what I'm thinking. Like Pokemon's 2 people, Mario 3D World's 2 people, WarioWare's 2 people. Unless you do the party games, but that's only a subset of the game. So, yeah, never mind. But there is one other type of award we gotta talk about. It's our final segment of the episode. It's our own Game of the Year picks. So as is tradition, I think we each tend to go around and share the one game available on the Switch that resonated strongest with us individually. For the non-Nintendo picks, we have the Nanies, or whatever we call them, coming up in whenever we do the next Arnon. But for the Nintendo side of things, the Nintendo side of the house, I think we're each going to pick one and just round robin it. So, and maybe, if you want to explain why you feel the way you do. But I don't know, Angel, Kevin, which one of you wants to take the lead on this?
Wouldn't it make sense that Jason goes first?
Why? I feel like I talk so much. I'm trying to give myself a break. I can if you want.
I mean, I feel we just kind of have to give it to you. It's like the most, it's like you're on.
All right. Sure. I'm gonna.
Especially considering how much I played non-Nintendo games today, with the exception of Smash Brothers.
Well, and Metroid, you beat that.
Well, I'm talking about how much.
Oh, okay, fine.
Like quantity.
All right, fine.
There's
I'll
a
go
lot of Metroid
first.
to
I'm
play.
going to throw a curveball here quite literally. I'm, for the first time, I think, not picking a first-party game or a Nintendo affiliate.
Rogue Heroes, what?
No. No, I'm going with Knockout City, believe it or not. Now, before everyone guffaws at that, I'm the guy who in the past
I am not surprised.
did talk up Pokemon. Wait, you say you are or not?
No.
Oh, okay.
That was definitely pretty.
Yeah, because I'm
Like a very good Jason game.
like past years I've talked about Pokemon Go, I've talked about Tetris 99, all these kind of atypical choices. So yeah, I guess maybe it's not a shocker. And this choice does not mean I think Metroid Dread is because that was kind of the other potential. I don't think it's necessarily a lesser game in design or Knockout somehow more polished or whatever. But I guess at the end of the day, like the game just resonated with me most in 2021 than anything else. Like from the initial beta,
it just brought flashbacks of Jason getting pelted by dodgeballs in elementary school.
Yeah, how he managed to have fun in that game is beyond me. I think just probably playing with friends is enough, which is really fun.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
that is really
well,
fun.
one, I never got pelted with dodgeballs that intensely in elementary school. I was an average dodgeballer. But no, like with this, it's just, I don't know, it's just consistently all year, whether I was good or not, it was just a fun game. I think what really resonated with me about Knockout was it's very Nintendo-y without being by Nintendo. And I think in large part it's because the developers, at, what was it, Valen, however you say it, Valen Studios, they kind of, to use a very 2021 phrase, they kind of understood the assignment. Like, they saw how Nintendo goes about approaching their gameplay, starting with a unique riff on a genre that's a very fundamental premise, and then building around that in ways that keep it approachable but offer some depth. So like here, for those who haven't played it, the riff is a third-person shooter, except it's dodgeball. It's not actually shooting. So anyone can hop in and get that you're just throwing balls at another team and trying to catch theirs. You never need to do anything except throw and catch. But if you choose to dig a little deeper, the way they kind of layer in the strategies, it's all still just throwing, but as a solo player, there's different types of throws you can account for and different techniques depending on, each special ball assigned at the beginning of the match. As a team player, there's then a whole now third level of strategy and how you can throw around your teammates or power up your own throws or throw your teammates into the air as a bomb of sorts. And then you can mix and match all these strategies, I guess, in different ways to kind of find a playstyle that does suit you. But ultimately, it's all still based around that same one mechanic of just a ball being thrown, which, as absurd as it sounds, I feel like it's getting kind of rare these days for any ongoing multiplayer online game to have just one sole mechanic. Like, this isn't a diss against any other game by any means or saying, oh, something's too easy or something's too complicated, but a lot of the biggest multiplayer experiences, I feel like, don't have layers on top of one concept. They now have multiple concepts, like, in parallel. Like, Fortnite, they do shooting, they do crafting, they do social things. I don't really know what to call it. Or, they maybe do have a simple premise, but it's not easy to actually pick up and play. Like Rocket League, you can just play it and have fun, but if you want to get good, you need to understand the physics, and there's kind of this deeper thing in order to get good. It's not like, oh, you can choose to be strategic. It's like, no, you need to understand these physics a certain way in order to actually win. And I just think as games in general move into more complicated schemes with free-to-play models and gameplay that's like, 3, 4, 5, 6 different elements all mixed together, it was just cool to see a developer who isn't Nintendo able to find a successful way to implement that kind of Nintendo simplicity in a multiplayer game in 2021 that actually has like a new, unique gameplay premise and can build depth around it in kind of an accessible way, and it's just really fun. And maybe there's stuff that like isn't necessarily going to make or break the game. Like the wacky 50s meets the future aesthetic is fine. Like it doesn't take itself seriously. It has that kind of silly announcer. But they keep just like building on that sole core mechanic in new, interesting ways with the different seasons. They're transforming levels at one point. Right now in the current season, there are these little UFOs you can ride on top of, and they can actually hold a ball for you with their tractor beam under you, meaning that they kind of just low-key introduced the mechanic of being able to hold 2 balls at once for the first time in the game. So, yeah, I guess that's my pick. Like Valen, they just did a good Nintendo impression, and in the process made a really fun game that's a lot of fun to play online. Simple as that. I don't necessarily think I would have picked Knockout if Nintendo didn't happen to have a very B-tier year. Like, we got a lot of solid content Nintendo this year. You know, new Pokemon Snap, Mario Golf Super Rush, WarioWare Get Together, Mario Party Superstars. Many of them are long overdue sequels that people wanted, but I don't know, nothing outside maybe Metroid Dread for its sheer atmosphere really rose to the top of the heap in my mind. Like even Bowser's Fury inside Mario 3D World, like that came close because I really liked how it like mixed and matched and remixed so many past Mario 3 concepts. But it wasn't really a full game. It was kind of like this side thing. So in terms of variety, I'd say Nintendo had a very fun, strong year. But in terms of like a single game that stood out, yeah, I think Knockout City just happened to be the one that gained the most traction with me. And I think you're right, Andrew, in part is because I was playing online with friends and this was super fun. But I think it's also because it was fresh, it wasn't a sequel, and just it was a Nintendo-style thing that was new, but actually somehow didn't come from Nintendo. So that's my pick, Knockout City.
Excellent choice.
And what a great pick it is.
It is, right?
I mean, we all have tons of fun.
Yeah,
with Knockout
I feel like
City,
every
right?
3 episodes we talk about how great it is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Which there's a new season coming out, right?
It's already happening with that UFO.
Just came out.
Yeah, it started last week.
Oh wow. Gotta go into that.
Oh yeah. No, it's fun. It's fun. But what about you guys? I have a feeling I know, but what's your pick?
Yeah, Dread.
Yeah.
Just they did really well on a, I guess, dying genre. We haven't seen any new Metroids in forever. Well, I guess Metroid Samus Returns, but we haven't seen a lot of good Castlevanias recently. The most recent one that I can think of that was highly regarded was what's that one by the original Metroidvania? What was the name of it? Bloodstained.
Yeah, Bloodstained. Yeah.
Bloodstained. Yeah. I mean, they nailed everything. The atmosphere was great. The controls are nice and tight, with the exception of that of what was it? What's it called? I forget. Spaceball?
What?
Help me out here, Angel.
Spaceball?
The movie Spaceballs? What?
No, not Space.
Are you talking about
that lets you jump
thingy? Not Allspark, that's Transformers.
The gravity jump?
Gravity jump. There we
Oh,
go. Gravity jump. That could be a little bit tighter, but aside from that, I had tons of fun with that game. I don't know what else to say though. I mean, if you go back into that episode where we just talk about it, the Emmy stuff a little disappointing, but aside from that, I had fun with pretty much or enjoyed every aspect of the game. Aside from that,
I mean, it is a solid pick. There's no doubt. Like it's my runner-up, and it's a close one. And I'm sure if I actually beat it might have actually taken the crown. But what about Angel? What about you?
if I want to give a runner-up, it probably would be Knockout City though.
Yeah. So we just flipped each other essentially. Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I think my runner-up would probably be Pokemon Unite. I'd be remiss to mention, because I haven't played that mode yet, but they did add like a snowball fight mode during this winter season, which, you know, kind of just to kind of show that they are throwing temporary side modes like a lot of these kind of games do. Like I think, didn't Overwatch have some kind of snowball themed fight at some point that people really loved?
Yeah.
Or it was like a May thing or something.
That was like,
remember that being
I mean,
popular.
May was like the main character that they showed, but yeah, there was like a snowball fight version.
But yeah, obviously, it couldn't be anything else for me but Metroid Dread. And just to kind of build on what Kevin has said, because controls feel great. Like everything about it was just, I mean, I just personally loved everything about it. I love that the game like was actually challenging. Like it had, like it wasn't the hardest game ever, but like I definitely felt like oh, I had to like stop and like learn some things. Like I didn't feel like I could just steamroll it. Like I had to respect the design at times. But I felt like after beating it, like I definitely got that feeling that I get from games that always stick with me for a long time, where it's like damn, like this game like just makes me feel, it's like validation for, well, it's not validation, that's not the right word. It reinforces how much I guess, or why it reminds me why I was such a big fan of the 2D Metroids, and also just like kind of Metroid in general. Like this game just made Samus look really awesome. Like Samus was just an awesome character, just the way like she was portrayed throughout the game. Just like way more confident, way more fearless, way more like I'm not gonna deal with your nonsense. I'm just trying to like censor myself.
Nice self-censoring.
like just like Yeah, just like the body language and like just like the way like she like confronts like Kraid when you encounter Kraid. Like I don't know, I just didn't really expect that from Samus. Usually Samus is like just acting like alert. Oh, I'm still gonna fight everything as if it's like a kill me. But in this game, I got like a vibe of I am the most dangerous thing here for the most part. Like you're the one to fear me, except for the Emmys. Like she definitely ran away from those because he kind of had to. But yeah, like I don't know, especially that like ending sequence and just like how it all still like tied together. Like the story that the small simple story that was told in 5 games, and especially because I've kind of replayed those games multiple times in those. How many years since Metroid Fusion came out?
2002 to 2021, so 19 years. Is that possible?
Yeah, like, because I've replayed Metroid Fusion at least 2 or 3 times between that time. I've replayed Metroid Zero Mission at least once, in addition to the first time I beat it, obviously. The only one I didn't replay was Super Metroid, which surprisingly is my least favorite, even though it's like the one that's usually the highest regarded. But yeah, Mercury's theme specifically, like, damn, like the way they followed up the 3DS version, because I thought that game was awesome, and they just kind of improved on that. So yeah, definitely couldn't be anything else. After that, after you unite, probably Rogue Heroes, because that was just kind of surprising.
We haven't even talked about Rogue Heroes on the podcast.
Scratch the surface
At some point should touch on that.
I don't think we played enough of that game to talk about it. But, well, played enough of that. I don't think we've progressed
we played enough of 1.5
We've definitely played it
about. Yeah,
a couple hours. Yeah, but yeah, Metroid Dread. It's definitely... And I nice reminder that, like, yeah, definitely pay attention to the 2D Metroid games, not just Metroid Prime. It's not all about Metroid Prime.
Nintendo really got lucky with the developers they handed Metroid to. I mean, Mercury's Steam with the 2Ds, Retro with the 3Ds, with Prime. Like, yeah, they picked them well.
Yep.
They picked them well. But yeah, I think that pretty much does it for this episode.
You're not gonna go into your spiel, follow us on.
No,
Stitcher,
I will, but well, we're not quite done. We're done with this episode, but hold on. Dipper, what?
Skipper.
Do you listen to podcasts
Clipper.
in like an ice cream scoop? What? Dipper? But yeah, no, we're not quite there yet because while this is the last round episode of the year, as those who have listened to our last couple episodes may recall, our 10-year anniversary celebration is still ongoing. By the time people listen to this, we will have just wrapped up our Twitter giveaway of 2 $20 eShop credits, but we've got one more $20 credit to handout. I can't talk tonight. Handout, and it's on YouTube. So for your chance to win, all you need to do is subscribe to our YouTube channel, ramnintendo.com, all one word, no spaces, no punctuation, before the end of the year. That's it. Just subscribe to us before the end of the year, and then we're going to pick one lucky subscriber out of a hat and reach out to them with that final $20 eShop code. I really can't talk. Plus, there is something to be said about subscribing to us anyway, because to Angel's point, if you subscribe to us on all the podcast apps, from Stitcher to TuneIn to Pandora to Spotify to Apple Podcasts to Google Podcasts to iHeartRadio to apparently Dipper, which I guess is a thing because Angel said, you can make sure you don't miss any future episodes. And you can also follow us on Twitter at RamNintendo to make sure you don't miss any future episodes. And we're going to be starting off 2022 pretty strongly with our next episode because we'll be having some potential belated Indie World highlights, impressions of games like Big Brain Academy, Brain vs. Brain, maybe Rogue Heroes, and who knows what else. So until then, you can find us individually on Twitter for our thoughts on games, life, and I guess everything in between. I'm JSR7. Angel is Wero, WEIRO_O. Kevin is KVN Gomi. And I'm going to slip in before we get to the final word that everyone should have a happy holiday and a happy new year. And now, Kevin, final word of the year.
Oh, man, you stole it from my mouth. Happy holidays, happy new year, everybody.